Alrighty then. Well, what we got going today is I went ahead and bit the bullet and pulled this gas tank out of this wagon. Wasn't that big of a deal. It's just got two straps that hold it in. Just pull it out and got that out, and what I did was I went ahead and just pulled the fuel sending unit out of it. I got it under here. I want to go through and check this sending unit to see if there was any problems with it, because when I got this car, even though the tank, the indicator up front there said it had 3/4 of a tank of gas in it, we just could not get it to run. So since then I've been keeping it, keeping gas in it to avoid running out, and I hadn't had any problems with it, but I just felt like I couldn't trust the gauge. So I went through this to check this all out, and really it's kind of unusual because I really didn't find anything wrong with it, and that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. When I got the tank out, the gauge said 3/4 of a tank, and it has probably, well, I don't think it's up quite to 3/4 of a tank, but it's got at least half a tank of gas in it. So it was not running out when the gauge said 3/4 of a tank. Shouldn't have been. So I went ahead and pulled that sender out and I checked its readings. These are, like a lot of them, they read from 0 to 90 ohms. It's on a sliding scale type operation. When it's empty, it should read 0. When it's full, it should read about 90 ohms. Well, that one is just the least bit high on both ends of the scale. It was reading about 3.3 ohms at empty, as far down as it would go, and it was reading about 98 ohms full. So it's full all the way around. Too full, reading too full. So what I did was I went around and hooked this thing up with my jumper harness thing to the car harness and turned the key on up there, and I ran this thing through its little range of motion, and I wanted to see, for wherever I had it back here, I wanted to see what the front gauge was reading, and it's actually pretty close. So what I did was I noticed that since it's physically won't, it won't electrically go any lower than 3.0 ohms or so. I tried to adjust the arm on it up there as much as I could, and it just won't go any lower. So what I did was to kind of make the gauge up there read a little bit lower than it actually is in the tank, just sort of a safety margin. I bent this arm up some right here. Be kind of careful doing this. You can screw one of these things up pretty easy, but I bent this thing up a little bit right here so that the arm is actually, when it's floating on the gas, like, see if I can get it out here. When it's floating on the gas in the tank, it's going to tell the gauge it's a little bit lower than it actually is. So that's kind of a safety margin in case somebody runs it down low. But what I've seen happen to these before, sometimes they get a rust hole in them and they'll stop picking up. When the gas gets down below a certain point, wherever the corrosion is, and the holes perforate this thing, then it runs out. It won't pick up any more fuel. I've seen that happen. I've seen the lines look bad coming out of the sending unit, and this one didn't seem to have any of that going on, so it looks pretty good. So I don't know, no evidence of leakage anywhere, so I don't know what that was all about, but I guess it's for better peace of mind to have it get it out and make sure that everything's working okay. So I guess I will put this back together and put the tank back in and call it good. And yeah, so I got one other thing I want to show you under here, but I'm going to do that on a separate video. So there we go, guys. Thanks for watching.